All right, and welcome back to K24 This Morning. It's time for the newspaper review, still ongoing up until 7:30. And I have your feedback as far as the xenophobic attacks in South Africa are ongoing. Moving straight to Twitter, let us see what you have to say. Amnesty Nigeria, hashtag xenophobia attacks. South Africa authorities must stop fueling xenophobia in their desperate attempt to win political support. Very much agree with that. We also have Banis Kiprop, you're saying, it is such a shame that this is us South Africans. This is all the humanity that's left in us. Pretty much no humanity. Okay. We also have Belshagi, you're saying, Nigeria was the first country to give hashtag South Africa financial contribution at some point, but look how they are thanking us. Work. There's a very angry Nigerian there. We have Drew Baba. You're saying the only hope of South Africa is not Buhari. Let them look at Malema. Okay. Then we have last Tosin Olugbenga. You're saying, can you see how we are standing by Nigerians against the xenophobic attacks in South Africa? We are one. I totally agree with you on that. Thank you. You can keep on tweeting us at K24 TV. And of course, our SMS line remains 21222. Right now, though, I give it back to Jeff Mote to continue the review.
Okay, fantastic stuff. Asante sana Mbuvi. Keep those tweets coming in the droves at K24 TV. Right now, even as we go through the news review proper, we're talking about the issue of the day. It's all about Kibra by-elections. Of course, that's slated for November the 7th. But this weekend, party primaries, of course, as ODM decides who's going to be the front runner for their party. Let's first clear some issues, Mr. Secretary General. Yesterday, some reports from the media that ODM top leadership is meeting to decide whether they should go through a consensus instead of taking it to the polls. Clarity on that?
Yes, I was a bit amused. Sometimes I sit in my house and I'm watching the news and a media house decides to call a meeting for an organ of the party.
That was supposed to happen today, by the way.
Yeah, we are hoping that media house will convene that meeting and they will tell us the results of those meetings, because the constitution of a party gives me, as the Secretary General, the power to convene all meetings and to keep records of those meetings. There is no such meeting. It is something that was conjured up by one of the newspapers, and in fact we called them out for fake news. It has been very frustrating for me dealing with Kenyan media, because I think when you are just a consumer of news, you might not have the vantage point of seeing the sort of trash that you're being fed. But when you are a newsmaker, when you're on this other side, you can actually get very frustrated.
So the meeting
number
is not
one,
happening.
There's no such meeting. Somebody just came up because the decision of the National Executive Committee was made weeks ago. And it was announced even in Kibra when we went to unveil the candidates that the party is going to do a direct nomination, that is direct universal suffrage, involving all the members of Kibra. As we speak now, my brother, I am holding daily meetings with the National Elections Board for them to also update us on all the preparations that are being made. As of yesterday, all the ballot papers had been printed. We are printing over 100,000 ballot papers because we know that all the registered voters in Kibra are members of ODM. So we expect them to turn up.
100%?
Yes. We expect them to turn up. I would rather have ballots remaining than for me to be told that there's a particular polling station that is not well supplied with ballot papers. We are holding this universal suffrage in all the 24 centers, 180 polling stations on Saturday. We have spoken with the county commander for Nairobi. He has assured us that he will give us all the security that is required. In this particular nomination exercise for the party, I want anyone to find fault in the preparation of a party. But I've continued to remind the members of a party that for us to have a successful exercise, all the people involved must play ball. It is as much on us to prepare adequately as the Secretariat and the National Elections Board. We have spoken to the candidates, and even the candidates will have a briefing either today or tomorrow before the exercise for them to satisfy themselves that the party has done everything. We expect them to behave, and then we are calling on our supporters, because the people who kick ballot boxes are not officials of a party. I have a very good kick on myself, but you will not see me kicking ballot boxes. So we expect that all the members of the party will appreciate all the resources that have gone into preparing for this particular exercise. We have done everything. The board has asked for all the resources. They have gotten everything that they have asked for. They have assured me as of yesterday that everything is on course. Today or tomorrow, we will call the candidates for them to also appreciate the preparation that has been put in place. We will have enough security for that particular exercise. We just want people to come, vote, and leave.
Okay.
And the results will be known by the end of the day on Saturday.
A very confident Secretary General saying that Kibra is 100% ODM. Well, that shall be seen on November the 7th. But Gabriel, I'll bring you in on this as well, because for some people, we thought that this was actually going to be home and dry for ODM, you know, from the spirit of the handshake that we had seen replicated before in different by-elections. It came here, Sakaja himself speaking about the fact that he shall talk to the leadership, they shan't field a candidate. The candidate they've brought has also brought its own kind of worms in the party. But between the two parties, is the handshake still intact, or are we seeing
No.
it being a bit more loose?
When it comes to matters of, going for seats or representation, I don't think we should really push matters handshake, because at the end of the day, this is the people, or the people who are within the certain locale who are deciding. So you cannot try and pigeonhole them in, put them in a situation whereby you're pushing them to a certain direction. Let them choose whoever they want from whichever party he will come from. The Achilles heel actually has always been when it comes to party nominations, and I hope ODM this time gets it right. And this is not about ODM alone. Even you saw in 2017 when we were going for the election, Jubilee had actually to cancel a day of nominations. So this is actually a problem within our parties, and I hope ODM will be able to traverse this one. The issue again that comes to play, Bwana Sifuna here today, can probably they'll do the best they can to win the seat, but it is not a given. Already they are coming from, I don't want to say lose, but they are coming from a disadvantage of the past two by-elections, the one in Ugenya and the one in Embakasi. So they have to actually up their ante in matters politics. And I believe this time round, if he will tell you the truth, I know they are going to do a lot of things. They'll have a messaging. And the messaging will be somebody who's very suitable to take over from Ken Okoth. Ken Okoth set the bar so high. So I would really want, regardless of the party, the person who takes over will be able to continue the legacy of Ken Okoth.
Patrick, I'll bring you in on this. From the point where, from the Jubilee standpoint, they have forwarded the candidates, Mariga, and that has now divided the party into two. We have Maina Kamanda, Moses Kuria, who are now saying that they'll back whoever who's going to be in ODM. I'm sure that is something that the SG ODM smiles about. But what is going on here?
Well, I think, there was always a controversy over the nomination of Mariga. Remember, initially when his name was floated, people were saying, there was this sort of fake letter that was sent out, or the letter that Tuju disowned with an interesting story about coded signatures. I think the media really needed to interrogate that statement. But the way they've gone about their nominations, and it's up to the party, but still you have, I think it's about 16 candidates, if I'm not wrong, many of whom are feeling disaffected, and so there's a question already, about that. And it seems to me, and I think it's fairly obvious, it's a house divided, and whether or not then they can be effective in fielding a candidate and running the sorts of campaigns that would entice people, I think is a question. I think there are issues around Mariga himself. I think his support or his association with sports betting is one thing he'll have to explain to guys, given the sort of pain and distraction it's causing to communities across, and not least in Kibra as well. I think on the ODM side, I'd be interested with the whole nomination exercise. Who's involved? Are you involved in, for example, the IEBC in doing the nominations? And if not, if you're doing it all in-house, then I would assume then you take responsibility for whatever comes out. So you're not going to say after the fact, if things go wrong, and I'm hoping they don't, that it's somebody else. But I'm really hoping that it goes straight. We don't see any violence, etc. And then also one final thing, who is eligible to come in and help you nominate? Are you saying it's anybody in Kibera can come into the centers and vote? Or are there specific ODM members with ODM cards, etc., who will be then allowed to come in?
So Jeff, interestingly, when they talk about nominations, they only talk about it when it comes to ODM. There have been very interesting things that have happened in these other political parties. I agree. Nobody is interested in talking about the democracy in Jubilee, how they arrived at Mariga. We saw stories yesterday. They conducted interviews in a room somewhere. Interview questions were leaked to people. People were coached. If I did that, even if it was an allegation, I am telling you, there would be fire in this studio right now. But you know, I have come to get used to this because ODM is not measured on the same standard as any other political party. We, every time, put democracy at the fore. And our critics will always say the D in ODM is silent. But we try. We are trying to do these things. I will address the issue of the handshake. First of all, it was not our expectation that the handshake was going to result in political cooperation in terms of elective positions. So that every decision that has been made by the leadership of both parties in previous by-elections has been as a result of a sit-down, people saying, yeah, here we think this can be done, this cannot be done. Really, for us, we are not worried about that. It's not a test for the handshake, and we know even in Jubilee, there are people who have never come on board on the issue of the handshake. So even these other manifestations, we expected them. It is quite interesting. You know, ODM is a reference point for everything. Even people who left the party and are now contesting on other political parties are still being referred to as former Raila Odinga aide, former ODM strategist. Has this person done nothing?
Let's talk about the
intervening period since he left ODM. So we are not saying we are taking anything for granted, my brother. I believe as a SG of a party that we did our best in Ugenya. We did our best in Embakasi South. There are many circumstances that determine the outcome of an election. What we don't want to be said is that the Secretariat of the National Elections Board did not prepare. Because one of the things, and Gadara, you raise a valid point, I have, as the Secretary General of ODM, custody of the records of the party. I can assure you that ODM has a register of members. We are not a briefcase party. We have a register of members which is available even at the Register of Political Parties. We can extract, it's a simple exercise to extract the members for Kibra. We will publish them in accordance to, you know, an alphabetical order, because trouble even at the nominations begins with delays at the queues. We want the queues to be able to move very quickly so that people can find their names easily, come, vote, and leave. And so that everyone can see that indeed there's been proper preparation going into this particular exercise. What the other frustration, and I know that your media has picked it up, is the conversation in Kibra. My brother has alluded to it. He has said, in Kibra, we just want somebody who can pick up where Ken Okoth left and push that legacy forward. It breaks my heart when I see people who want to make Kibra a fighting, you know, or an opportunity or a theater. Others are declaring war on Raila Odinga. You're wondering, is this what your agenda is in Kibera? Please come and talk to the people about your plans for the education sector in Kibera, about healthcare, about water and sanitation in that particular constituency. So when somebody comes and says, oh, we have declared total war on Raila Odinga, we are going to teach ODM a lesson. There are no lessons that we haven't learned as a party. We have been taught quite a few. And so this should not be your primary concern. And then there are people who want to introduce tribalism in Kibera. This is a community that has lived together as brother and sister all this time. Even when there's skirmishes in Nairobi, for instance, in some of the slums, places like Mathare, for instance, it never reaches that level in Kibera. So when I see a media house such as yours come up with figures from I don't know where, beaming across your screens, Luyas, Bukusus, these are the number of Maragolis, and then the entire conversation changes to people going to vote in a tribal, you know, pattern. I would be very happy if K24 were to tell us the demographies in Kibra, these are the number of unemployed youth, these are the number of women, these are the school-going children, so that even somebody who's coming up with policy can look and say, what are the issues that affect these women? What are the issues that affect the unemployed young people living in Kibra? How can you craft a message to be able to get the votes? But when you tell me that it's about the Luyas, how the Luyas are going to vote in Kibra, you people are bringing bad manners from upcountry to
Saying genuine, let me push back on that one, because even as you talk about references being made on different fronts, there's a point where you said that kuna watu wanajaribu kujipima nguvu na Raila.
Yes.
This Kibra by election.
Yes. Right.
Hani watu wagani?
Sasa unajua unaweza kusoma gazeti wewe. Sisi tumefanya newspaper review
hapa.
Nikupe story moja
who are you
nimeona
referencing
hapa.
to? Right
No, they are here. They have said they are going to teach ODM a lesson in Kibera. This is their agenda. This is the entire agenda. This is the reason why they have gotten into it's here. Read it. Yeah.
So this is teach Ruto a lesson.
Yes, people are coming to teach Raila a lesson in Kibera. This is not what the people of after you teach Raila the lesson, what are you going to do for the people? The problems persist.
Yeah, but I think also on the issue of the platforms that people are running on, you know, I think there are several things, and you're right about the bar that Ken Okoth put up, but there were some issues I think that were fairly close to his heart. You know, you remember education was a big one, and I think also in terms of the national outlook, he had picked up on the whole 2/3 gender rule issue. You know, which is, by the way, back in Parliament in the papers, because the 60-day thing has lapsed for things, and we actually have by law pretty much an unconstitutional parliament at the moment. Right. So I would want to hear what they are proposing to do about picking up these sorts of issues, you know, and how do they propose to push them forward. Ken Okoth was also a big supporter when the devolution ministry was doing the fixing up the roads and stuff in Kibera, although ODM at the time wasn't a big fan of it. You know, so my question again would be, where will the guy stand? And what I'm afraid of is that it's going to become a competition about the politics of things. Exactly. You know, as you're saying, you know, it's who Raila, and even seen one of your candidates, you know, going to kneel in front of Raila asking for his blessing, as if he's the guy who decides, rather than actually coming out and saying, these are the things that I want to push. This is how I want to further this legacy. Right. And I would really hope to hear much more of that. And not just from the ODM side,
from all the
parties. Think from all the parties. I think it's very important for people like Kina Mariga, if he's going to end up.
I wish you luck getting an explanation.
Mufuma, I'll bring you in on this also, because not only are we talking about, we haven't had the plans on the ground from the candidates and what they will do, but also looking at democracy between the parties, because as SG ODM is talking about the fact that it almost feels like they're held to a higher standard, because every other party has directly nominated, you shall, you know, vie for this ticket or have an interview in a boardroom somewhere. What about the state of democracy within the parties when you look at Kibra?
And I think that you're actually centering on Jubilee, because Jubilee, they are the people who have actually come straight with doing following a mechanism, you know. And I was reading about it, and I was looking at the Jubilee party structure, how they can go about to nominate a candidate, and what they did for Mariga is actually within the party constitution. So it's not something that's totally outside. There are actually 3 ways that I saw how you can go about in nominating a candidate. The issue that he brought about, that Mariga has to explain, the issue about betting, I honestly don't think Mariga that will really is going to be his pie, if you will. Mariga does not set betting policies in Kenya. He's not really.
He's going to.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
You know? And when we sit on TV, really, both betting. It doesn't. But you see, we also have endorsed it in a way, because look at SportPesa. SportPesa, who do they support? And every time over the weekend, we switch our TVs to watch. You know, Arsenal, Hull City, Southampton, Everton. You saw when Everton came to Kasarani was packed. All right. So really, you can't tie that on Mariga just because he stood up and endorsed a bet. You know, he doesn't set policy. He's not the one actually. I mean, he's making money. To him, that is how he makes money.
But do you think that might be his Achilles heel for the rest of the candidates to point out?
Honestly, I do not think so. As a matter of fact, it may actually work favorably for him. You know, actually. Many people are actually pushing now to say, yeah, you know, SportPesa is back, betting is back. So if the more you think about it, if they play with it badly, he may actually get a lot of support by virtue of just having his picture somewhere.
You know, I agree with him. The Achilles heel for this candidate, it's not going to be what they do
Exactly.
you know, in their for their day job or night job. In the case of this DJ, for instance, DJ Chris Daly, it is going to be the question of capacity.
Yes.
I was telling him good luck. He wants Mariga to explain his greater vision for the country.
He's yet to do it.
His solution to the 2/3 gender rule. I swear, the day you have that conversation, I will be tuned in. I will also like to I don't have a problem with that.
The last time you made a bet like that, it was on social
I
media.
am promising that if you have that conversation with him, I will be tuned in because I'm also eager to learn from him. But let me just address one thing that he raised, the question of this incident of kneeling. And I want to address it in the context of my bigger beef with the media. Kenya, you fell for the trick of Kenyan media, my brother. I am telling you this for a fact because I was there. When this gentleman stood up to speak, he spoke for 5 minutes. He addressed issues in Kibra about some boxing arena that had been grabbed, some piece of land somewhere that he wanted was used as a pitch for training of the local clubs. The way he wanted it to be, you know, when he's MP, he wanted to do something with it to enable the talents to be able to use that facility in Kibra. Then the kneeling happened. And because our media likes shiny things that sparkle and can be put on the headline, that is exactly what they focused on. I have challenged media houses to play the 3 minutes that this gentleman spoke, but nobody's bothered.
Sifuna, let me jump in right there.
Let me just finish.
The point is, he knelt, and that even if he gave a 15-minute speech,
so if he did
still go to the
if he did a headstand and gave you the solution to the 2/3 gender rule, would you be discussing it? It doesn't matter in what position you are speaking.
Sifuna,
the issue is...
Sifuna, let me just clarify the question, because people are asking, he had this grand vision for what he do in Kibra, but after that, he knelt down to the party leader.
And what was he saying? You saw Gadara's beef was with the message. I was seated right there. He said, Baba, kama unaweza kunishika mkono na watu wa Kibira wakubali unishike mkono. He's asking for the support of a party leader. Because like it or not, the weight of a party leader in a constituency such as Kibra, and any constituency in this country, is something that is advantageous. And at the end of the day, when you
think the kneeling was appropriate?
Personally, I had a problem with it. Personally, I had a problem with it because it allowed you people who,
can't really
Let me finish. There is certain narratives that have to be pushed. Yes, that there is this demigod that everybody has to kneel before so that they're able to get what it is they want in politics. I am the Secretary General of ODM. I have never gone on my knees to ask for Raila for anything. He has held my hand more than once, and he has never asked me to kneel for him. Let me tell you, sometimes the logistics of how people are seated are important. I am a fairly tall person. If you are seated down there and I want to speak to you, I'm not going to bend. I'm probably going to be, in a more comfortable position talking with one knee on the floor. And people kneel all the time for all sorts of things. When you go on one knee to propose, let me propose to a lady. In 10 seconds, please. If I see a beautiful lady and I want to propose marriage to her, and I go on one, I'm not worshiping. I'm not worshiping one lady.
Just go have a look at the whole kneeling incident.
I was there.
Whether it was about sitting arrangements, whether it was about this guy was too tall to bend over.
We shall do that.
Or actually whether he was begging.
We've not
we've
not done our focus on the Kibra seat and the candidates who are running. So the people that we know, I mean, Jubilee has selected Mariga, ANC I think is coming with Owalo. It's coming with Owalo. We see who ODM comes with. Probably
Kenya has Buttigieg
you also have there's a guy and then you also have the likes of Martin and that is so there are people who I feel if they get that chance, Kibra will be well represented. But at the end of the day, I think the messaging must be right. So all those candidates, if they play the cards well and ODM the person they bring in, and please don't do this mistake, and I've heard so many people saying this mistake, doing this mistake of writing off Raila in Kibra. This has been one of the longest serving MPs in
we shall leave it at that.
So he still wields a lot of power.
Quite a fiery panel right there, and an amazing newspaper review. Gabriel Muthuma, thank you so much for your time and sharing your views. Secretary General ODM Edwin Sifuna, thank you for that, and of course Patrick Gathara.
And the whole proposal of kneeling.
And his proposal to kneel. Thank you so much for your time, gentlemen. Your feedback, of course, coming in as well. We get that at K24 TV. Mbuvi, where do we start?
So all I've had there was marriage proposal and bending over. But we have your feedback, of course, as usual, on Twitter. Well done, Koech. Unasema Kibra by elections. Dear Kibra residents, if your votes are based on political party, then you are asleep. Your vote should be based on individual, not the one pushed by Baba or DP Ruto. Be smart, hashtag Kibra by election. Then we have Asamo, who's saying role of an MP, 1, representation, oversight and legislation. If you can't do that for the Kibra people, keep moving. Okay. Maybe one last one on Twitter. Kibra by election. Murage Joe, you're saying Mariga was an international soccer star. How did he use his talent to give back to the society? Now he wants to be a leader for what reason? A valid question there, but at the end of the day, I think it's up to him to sell his manifesto to us. On Facebook, we have Kennedy Atura. Mariga's choice is very tricky. ODM needs to carry nomination cautiously. Any mistake will be very costly in their stronghold. Thank you very much for that feedback. Of course, we take a short break right now, but when we return, tunapiga kelele ingine proper on interactive. So do not go anywhere.